Chosen one, you are in the midst of such a profound transformation that the world around you has already begun to feel it. You are changing, and this change will inevitably unsettle people who won't like it one bit. Not everyone will understand, and many will despise it. You won't need to explain yourself. The new you is like a brutal reflection forcing people to see their own weaknesses, and it bothers them. It's not because you've done anything wrong, but because you dared to grow, you dared to change, while they remain stagnant. They'd rather hate you than admit they could do the same but lack the courage. Your evolution isn't comfortable for those who are stuck in the past. You no longer belong to the old circles, the same conversations, or the same limitations. They will try to bring you down, to make you doubt yourself, because your new version shatters any illusion that complacency is enough. But here's the truth, nothing can stop someone who has chosen to burn the old and be reborn. They will talk and criticize. They will try to tear down what you've built, but every attempt will only strengthen your light even more. Because the new you isn't just an improved version, it's a version that can't be ignored. There's no going back because you've crossed a line few have the courage to cross. And no one will forget that. You're not just changing, you're being reborn. Like a phoenix consuming itself in its own flames, you're burning everything that no longer serves you, everything that holds you back, everything that diminishes you. And now, the world cannot ignore it. They're seeing the new you emerge, but that doesn't mean they'll be ready to accept it. Quite the opposite. The brilliance of your transformation will disturb them, and for some, it will be unbearable. Be prepared, they will hate what you're becoming. Not because you're wrong, but because you're too right, too strong, too alive. Your transformation will not go unnoticed. It's shocking. Where you once fit perfectly, it will now seem as if you're a puzzle piece that no longer belongs. The people around you, even without realizing it, are already reacting to this. Because your change is a reminder of what they themselves could be but chose not to. You have become the mirror reflecting everything they try to hide, the dreams they abandoned, the promises they broke, the potential they buried. And this reflection frightens them. They'd rather hate you than face the fact that you are living proof that the impossible is possible. And this is just the beginning. As you grow, something extraordinary happens. Your energy changes the environment around you. You enter a space, and people feel it. They can't explain it, but they know something is different. Your presence now carries weight, intensity, a truth that cannot be ignored. And for many, that truth is unbearable. It's not easy to deal with someone who refuses to go with the flow, who challenges norms, who won't settle for anything less than greatness. That's what you represent now, a force that won't bend, won't be silenced, won't be dimmed. But understand, this isn't for everyone. Some will support you, but others will try to pull you back because your ascent makes them feel small. You need to know that the hate you'll face isn't about you. It's about them. It's about how they feel when they see your light shining so brightly. They may criticize, attack, or belittle you, but this has nothing to do with who you are, it's about who they aren't. Your courage to break patterns, to leave the place where everyone feels comfortable, is a direct threat to their complacency. And that's why, for some, it's easier to hate than to accept that you've proven change is possible. Every negative word they throw at you is, in fact, a confession. They wish they were as brave as you, but they can't admit it. Now, listen closely, you owe no explanations to anyone. The new you doesn't need validation because the one in control of your life is you, and no one else. They can try to tear you down, but the strength you carry cannot be extinguished. You've rebuilt yourself, piece by piece, burning what was old to create something that never existed before. They didn't see it coming. They weren't prepared to see someone they knew, someone they underestimated, become something so powerful. And it throws them off balance. To those who surrounded you, you were comfortable, predictable, perhaps even controllable. But now, you are the unexpected. You are the change they never believed possible. Your presence no longer allows others to remain asleep in their routines. Every step you take is a reminder that complacency is a choice, and you've decided not to accept it anymore. It irritates them, unsettles them, because it means that maybe they, too, have chosen to limit themselves. They try to hide it, but the discomfort is evident. This transformation didn't come for free. You paid the price. The new you is the result of sleepless nights, tears no one saw, battles no one would understand. You faced not only the judgment of others but also your own fears and doubts. And yet, you kept going. Because deep down, you knew the old you could no longer bear the weight of what you were destined to be. So, you burned it all, the old beliefs, the excuses, the ties that held you back. And in doing so, you not only freed yourself, you created something no one can take away from you. The new you isn't just an achievement. It's an act of resistance, of survival, of pure strength. But this strength won't be celebrated by everyone. The truth is, to many, you'll be a painful reminder. They'll look at you and see everything they could have been, everything they chose not to be. This internal confrontation is too intense for some to handle. So, instead of looking inward, they'll choose to see you as the problem. And that's where the hate begins. They project their insecurities, their failures, and their frustrations onto you because it's easier than admitting you're living proof they're afraid to change. But understand this, their hate doesn't diminish who you are. In fact, it reinforces the impact you've made. The world around you is changing. Every space you occupy is transformed by your presence. And this is not arrogance, it's a fact. What once went unnoticed is now felt immediately. You carry an intensity that makes people stop, look, and question. You don't need to say a word, your energy speaks for itself. But this also means you'll become a target. Where there is light, there will always be those who try to extinguish it. Not because your light is wrong, but because it reveals the shadows they don't want to see. They will resist, but that's not your problem. Your only responsibility is to keep shining. And do you know what's most ironic? Many of those who hate you now will one day admire you. But until then, you need to understand that your mission is not to please but to evolve. Some will never understand, and that's okay. The important thing is that you understand. You know what you've faced, what you've overcome, and what you've built. You know that the new you is not just a different version, it's a landmark. And while they spend their energy trying to stop you, you are growing, achieving, and impacting in ways they never imagined. Because in the end, what they feel doesn't define you. Only you can do that. Have you noticed how people try to put you back into the box you've broken out of? They say things like, "You've changed, you're not the same," or they even try to remind you of your past mistakes, as if that could make you stop. What they're really saying is, "I can't handle the new you." Because the old you was comfortable, predictable, a version that conformed to their expectations. But now, you no longer fit those molds. And that bothers them. You've become an unpredictable force, impossible to control. They feel it, even if they'll never admit it. And the more they try to pull you back, the clearer the distance becomes between who you were and who you were destined to be. And that distance matters. It shows how much you've grown. But it also makes it clear that not everyone will come along for the ride. Some relationships simply cannot survive the heat of transformation. Not because you want them to end, but because they no longer serve the greater purpose of your journey. It's painful to realize that some connections you once valued were based on who you used to be, not who you've become. But true growth demands this, cutting ties that can no longer grow with you. You're not abandoning anyone, you're simply choosing not to abandon yourself. When you look back, you realize that the old you accepted things that are now unacceptable. You settled for less, allowed your light to be dimmed, endured environments and people who didn't value who you truly were. But that time is over. The new you demands more respect, more authenticity, more purpose. And with that comes the need to set clear boundaries. Because those who don't respect who you've become have no place in the life you're building. You're no longer someone who waits for permission to exist. Now, you take up space unapologetically. And as you do, the impact is inevitable. Every choice you make to align with your truth reverberates through others. Some will be inspired and begin their own transformation journeys. Others will resist, struggle, because your change forces them to confront what they've been avoiding. But that resistance isn't your responsibility. You're not here to save anyone or to ease the discomfort of those who don't want to grow. You're here to take your place in the world with all the strength and authenticity the new you carries. And here's the most powerful part: you don't need validation. The new you is so deeply rooted in truth that no criticism can shake you. They may try to distract you, but it's already too late. You've found your strength. And that strength hasn't just transformed who you are, it has started to shape the world around you. The new you is not just a personal achievement, it's a milestone that inspires greater changes than you ever imagined. And while they try to figure out how you did it, you'll keep moving forward, forging paths no one else dared to take. Before we continue, if you feel like you're on a lonely and sometimes challenging journey as a chosen one, our ebook can be a valuable resource for you. Inside, you'll find guidance and insights to help illuminate your path and better understand your unique experiences and gifts. Additionally, you'll gain access to our exclusive Discord community. This group is a space where many, who may feel alone or misunderstood, have already found support, understanding, and care. It's a place to share, learn, and grow together, where your unique experiences are valued, and your progress is celebrated. Imagine being part of a community that truly understands and supports who you are. Check the pinned comment below this video and join this group. The people who resist your evolution are not your enemies, they are merely reflections of everything you have already overcome. When they criticize or try to hold you back, what they are really saying is, "I don't know how to deal with someone who had the courage to break free." And the truth is, they don't. Your transformation exposes the invisible prisons they still live in. They may try to tether you to the past, but you've already burned those chains. There's no turning back. The new you hasn't just broken away from the old narratives, you've completely destroyed them. And for many, that is unbearable. But don't confuse resistance with relevance. The hatred some show you is not a sign that you're wrong, but proof that you're right. The more intense the transformation, the stronger the reaction. It's like stirring up a hornet's nest. You've shaken something dormant, something no one wanted to face. But this isn't about you. It's about them. It's about their inability to accept that you had the courage to change while they stayed in the same place. Deep down, what they feel is a mix of suppressed admiration and fear. Admiration because you've done what they wish they could, and fear because it forces them to confront their own limitations. And here's what's fascinating: the transformation doesn't stop here. You're not just breaking people's expectations, you're redefining the rules of the game. The old you accepted labels, but the new you destroys them. You no longer fit into patterns or molds. Every step you take is a reminder that true strength isn't in pleasing others but in being authentic, even if it means walking alone for a while. And walking alone isn't a weakness, it's a privilege for those who know where they're going. Meanwhile, something magical happens. As you continue growing, attracting criticism and admiration in equal measure, you realize that the hate from some is fueling you. It's like a source of energy. Every negative word, every attempt to bring you down, only serves to remind you how far you've come. What once could hurt you no longer has power. You've become resilient, unshakable. Because you know your transformation wasn't easy, and no one can take away what you've worked so hard to achieve. What's even more interesting is that, eventually, even those who hate you will start paying attention. They may not admit it, but they'll be watching, trying to figure out how you did it. And maybe, just maybe, some of them will be inspired to change. But that's not something you need to wait for or seek out. Your mission isn't to carry anyone but to be a living example of what's possible. Because, in the end, the new you isn't just a reminder to others, it's proof that you've conquered yourself. And there's no greater victory than that. When you look in the mirror, you see something no one else can fully understand: how much you've had to fight to be here. Every scar, every defeat, every silent tear has become the foundation of what you've built. The new you isn't just a product of strength, it's a work of art created from chaos. But for others, all they see is the result, the brilliance, the strength, the transformation. They don't see the internal battles you faced, the nights you thought about giving up. And that's why it's so easy for them to judge. But their opinions don't define you. Who you are now was forged in fire, and nothing they say can erase that. Some people will try to get close to you, but not to celebrate your evolution. They'll want to pull you back into the zone where they feel comfortable, where your light doesn't force them to see their own shadows. They'll use words disguised as concern, try to remind you of who you used to be, or even minimize what you've become. But remember, what they say isn't about you. It's about their fear of being left behind. You make them question their own lack of courage. And because of that, they'll try to tether you to a past you've already outgrown. And the past is no longer your home. You don't fit there anymore. The old you had to fight to be heard, to be respected, to be accepted. But the new you doesn't ask for permission. You take up space because you know it has always been yours. The people who resist this aren't fighting against you, they're fighting against what you represent. Because your transformation is living proof that complacency is a choice. And when you reject that choice, you challenge the narrative they live in. For some, this is inspiring, for others, it's unbearable. Your journey isn't about pleasing others, and you know that. But this is where many fall behind. They expected you to stay on the same frequency, to continue following the same patterns. But growth doesn't work that way. It takes you to a level where not everyone can follow. This isn't cruelty, it's evolution. Not everyone is meant to walk with you into the next stage of your journey. And that's okay. You've learned that true power comes from letting go of what no longer resonates with your essence. But remember, it's not your responsibility to carry anyone. Your role isn't to save, but to inspire. And you do that simply by existing, by living your truth, by being authentic in every step you take. Those ready to grow will naturally align with you. And those who aren't, they may continue hating, resisting, or even trying to tear you down. But in the end, none of that matters. Because the new you has already won. And that victory isn't about others, it's about you and everything you've overcome to be here. It's important to remember that as you move forward, your greatest battle won't be with others but with yourself. The old you may sometimes try to resurface. Old doubts, old fears, and old beliefs might try to creep in. But the difference now is that you know how to face them. You have the tools, the strength, and the clarity that come with transformation. You've already proven to yourself that you can overcome anything. So even when echoes of the past arise, they won't be able to stop you. The new you is unbreakable because it was forged in the fire of experience. And that's what others don't understand. They think you simply changed. But that's not what happened. You were reborn. You chose to rebuild yourself, piece by piece, until you created a version of yourself that is true to your purpose, true to your essence. This process wasn't quick or easy, but it was necessary. And now, you are a force that cannot be ignored, a presence that cannot be dimmed. They may hate, resist, or try to discredit you, but in the end, the new you will endure. Because what you've built, no one can destroy. What you need to understand, and perhaps haven't fully realized yet, is that the new you isn't just a personal transformation. It's a declaration of power. Every step you take now carries a weight that transcends your own journey. The people around you feel it. Even those who would never speak to you directly, who pretend not to notice, are affected by your energy. You have become impossible to ignore, not just because you've changed, but because your change has disrupted their balance. You're not just someone who has evolved, you're a constant reminder that everyone can evolve if they have the courage. That courage, however, isn't for everyone. Many prefer the comfort zone. They prefer to maintain the status quo, even if it means living below their potential. That's why some will react to the new you with anger, resistance, or attacks. They're not ready to deal with the idea that change is possible. And for them, it's easier to project that frustration onto you. But what they don't realize is that their hatred doesn't weaken you, it strengthens you. Every negative word they hurl at you is fuel for the fire that propels you even higher. As you continue moving forward, a pattern becomes clear. Those who resist your growth often struggle with their own limitations. They try to hide it, they try to justify it, but deep down, they know you represent something they've been avoiding for a long time, the call to something greater. Your presence isn't just uncomfortable for them, it's transformative. Even if they try to fight it, something within them has already begun to shift. It's as if your very existence forces them to confront everything they've avoided for so long. And that's exactly what the new you was created to do. You're not here just to grow for yourself. Your journey is a catalyst for the world around you. Every barrier you break, every limit you redefine, paves the way for others to do the same. You don't need to teach or convince, your life speaks for itself. And those who are ready to listen will hear it. Those who aren't will keep resisting, but even they will be impacted. Because the new you is more than a transformation, it's a silent revolution. So never underestimate the power of what you're doing. Every step you take, every choice you make to stay true to yourself, is shaping the future in ways you can't yet fully comprehend. The new you isn't just a symbol of strength, it's a promise that change is possible, that greatness is within reach for anyone willing to face the fire. So while they watch you, criticize you, or even hate you, remember this: you are opening doors that others never had the courage to touch. Beyond that, your truth is powerful. It carries a weight that transforms everything around you. Where once you sought acceptance, now you demand respect. Where once you tried to fit in, now you create your own space. This strength, this confidence, isn't something that can be taught, it's something that's earned. And you've earned it. Every internal battle, every moment when you had to rise on your own, has shaped you. You are no longer just an ordinary person trying to survive. You've become extraordinary simply by choosing to be true to who you really are. But that choice comes with challenges. You've noticed that the more you grow, the more criticism appears. People who never cared before suddenly have something to say. And do you know why? Because the new you is impossible to ignore. Your presence, your energy, your impact, it all demands attention. You don't have to do anything but exist to provoke reactions. And that's a sign you're on the right path. If you were insignificant, no one would notice. The noise around you is proof that you are causing deep changes, even if some will never admit it out loud. Meanwhile, you keep moving forward. Because the new you isn't interested in petty arguments or meaningless debates. Your vision is far beyond that. You know what you want, you know what you deserve, and you know there's no room for distractions. Every criticism you receive, every attack you faced, has only reinforced your determination. You've learned that the hatred of others is the price you pay for shining. And in the end, it's a small price to pay because what you've gained in return is priceless: freedom, authenticity, and personal power. And that's what scares people. Not what you say, but what you represent. The new you is the embodiment of something many fear: change. They see in you the proof that it's possible to break expectations, rewrite the rules, and create something new. And it forces them to look at their own lives, at the choices they've made, at the opportunities they've let slip by. And while some will resist, others will be inspired. Because deep down, the new you isn't just about you. It's a call for everyone around you to awaken to what they too can become. Have you noticed that with every step you take, the distance between you and the old you grows? It's almost impossible to imagine how you tolerated certain things, accepted certain conditions, or stayed in places that didn't value your essence. But don't blame yourself for that. Every moment was necessary to bring you here. The battles you fought, the doubts that haunted you, and even the people who tried to hold you back were all part of the process. Today, you are not just someone who has overcome, you are someone who has rebuilt themselves from the ground up, and that reconstruction is what makes you unshakable. And that unshakability, that quiet power you now carry, is what bothers others the most. They feel your strength, even if they can't explain it. It's something that transcends words. It's your presence, your energy, your truth. You don't need to shout to be heard because your walk speaks for you. And while some try to ignore, criticize, or resist, others watch in silence, trying to understand how you did it. What they don't realize is that the key isn't in looking outward but inward. Your transformation began when you decided to stop seeking external validation and started trusting your own voice. You have become a force in motion, and that's something no one can stop. The old you might have hesitated, might have waited for approval, but the new you waits for no one. Every choice you make now is aligned with your vision, with your purpose. This confuses people because they're used to a world where everything is conditioned by fear, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. But the new you has abandoned those fears. You decided that living a limited life was no longer an option, and that decision freed you from a cycle that holds most people captive. The price of this freedom? You already know. Not everyone celebrates it. Some people choose to see your evolution as a threat because it exposes what they don't want to face. They observe your growth and try to find flaws because admitting your strength would mean admitting their own weaknesses. But you no longer need their acceptance. You know their hatred says more about them than it does about you. In fact, every critique they throw at you only reinforces one thing: you've become too great to be ignored. And this greatness isn't something you flaunt, it's something you live. It's visible in the way you walk, the way you speak, the way you face challenges. The new you isn't perfect, but it's authentic. And that authenticity disarms people the most because they're used to masks, to superficiality. You don't play those games. You live with intensity, with purpose, and that changes everything. Those who aren't ready to handle that intensity will try to distance themselves or even tear you down, but none of that matters. You're not here to hide. The most incredible thing about the new you is that even as you moved forward, you never lost your essence. On the contrary, you rediscovered it. Amidst all the chaos, the criticism, the losses, and the struggles, you realized you didn't need to mold yourself to what others expected of you. Everything you needed was already within you all along. The fire you went through wasn't just to destroy the old, it was to reveal what was always true. And now, you carry that truth as armor, unshakable in the face of what lies ahead. They may continue trying to put you in boxes, to diminish your light, but you've already moved beyond their reach. The new you doesn't belong in places where you have to justify yourself or shrink. Your strength, your courage, your vision, it's all too vast to fit into the limitations others try to impose. And while they waste time trying to understand or criticize you, you're building something they will never be able to ignore. The new you isn't a fleeting idea, it's a reality that has changed the game forever. Now, you look ahead and see possibilities where there were once barriers. You no longer define yourself by the rules imposed on you because you've realized you have the power to create your own. Every step you take now is a reminder that the impossible is just a matter of perspective. And while they're still debating your choices, you're living the freedom they don't even know how to achieve. The new you is more than a rebirth, it's a revolution. And this revolution doesn't stop with you. It continues. Because every person who observes you, who feels the impact of your presence, carries a piece of your light with them. Some will resist, but others will be inspired to start their own journeys. And that is the legacy of the new you, not just to change your life, but to be a beacon for others to find their way back to themselves. You don't need to carry anyone because your existence alone is enough to show what's possible. So keep going. Let them talk, let them hate, let them resist. None of it matters. Because the new you doesn't need validation. You've already won simply by becoming who you were born to be. And in the end, isn't that what truly matters? Knowing that you didn't just survive but were reborn in a way that will never be forgotten. The new you is more than an improved version, it's living proof that the extraordinary is within reach for those who dare to face the fire and be reborn. If there's one thing this message must make clear, it's this: you are no longer the same person. The new you hasn't just broken barriers, it's redefined what it means to be resilient, true, and bold. Every step you take is a milestone, every choice you make is a reminder that your light cannot be extinguished. And the most incredible part? Your journey is just beginning. What you've achieved so far is only a glimpse of what's to come. Because the new you has no limits, only possibilities. And now, it's time to continue. Let them talk, let them resist. While they try to understand, you keep building, creating, and impacting. Because that's what you do, you transform everything around you simply by existing. The new you isn't a phase, it's a force. And no one can stop someone who has chosen to be reborn with purpose. So keep shining, keep being a living example of courage, and remember, the future belongs to those who dare to challenge expectations. If this message resonated with you, hit the like button below and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you won't miss any upcoming videos. Share this video with someone who's undergoing transformation or hasn't yet realized their potential. And leave a comment below sharing how the new you is impacting the world around you. Don't forget to check the pinned comment if you feel alone and misunderstood as a chosen one. In our ebook, you'll find guidance to illuminate your path and understand your unique gifts. Get it now and gain access to our exclusive Discord community, where you'll find support and understanding. Join us and share your experiences in a welcoming space. Plus, get access to unique and exclusive content. To those who support this work, my gratitude is immense. If you'd like to contribute even more, consider supporting through Buy Me a Coffee. It helps keep this space alive and ensures we continue bringing messages that resonate with your greatness. The link is in the comments as well. And before you go, don't miss the video recommended on the screen or the playlist of Chosen One's secrets. Each message is a reminder that you're on the right path and that the world needs your impact. Until next time. And remember, strength is unbreakable, and the new you is just beginning to transform everything.